Gosh, isn't it so quirky how I'm holding a little clip-on mic super close to my face like a tiny little interview mic? I know how this stuff is supposed to work, but it's like a thing on TikTok, so I'm doing it too, and I'm just so quirky and relatable. Hey, this episode of Some Gadget Guy is brought to you by viewers like you. All of the incredible people sharing content across social media and the amazing generosity of my patrons at patreon.com/SomeGadgetGuy. More info on those fantastic nerds later in the video. Sorry I had to get that out of my system. The folks at Saramonic sent this my way for me to test drive and share my thoughts. This is the Saramonic Ultra. I recently spent some time with a more entry-level offering from Saramonic for a pair of wireless mics, but now the company is back in the Gadget Lab, and they're looking to blur those lines between prosumer and legit professional gear. And the fun thing about a set of wireless mics, it's the perfect excuse to get a little work done outside, just get out of the Gadget Lab for a bit. I busted my heel, so all of these walk and talk segments are gonna be really like Frankenstein slow as I trudge around on an uneven terrain. The mission remains the same. We want better and better audio capabilities, but we're also not trying to break the bank. Now, this overall setup should look pretty familiar. Wireless microphone manufacturers are learning a lot from true wireless earbud makers. Instead of just 3 separate little rectangles and a bunch of USB cables to charge, we have a battery case where the transmitters and receivers slot inside to charge when they're not in use. That means we can keep topping off batteries in between shots and setups when we're out in the field. It's just been so much fun kind of thinking back over the history of consumer grade microphones and when we started getting into wireless, and those first couple kits that weren't total garbage when you wanted to cut the cable and get a little more separation, to today where there are so many situations where I genuinely reach for these before I reach for my old school professional recording kit. Like I used to have all the Sennheisers with my bandolier of receivers 1-to-1, and then I would have a field mixing recording kit and something to offload the storage, and I'd have batteries and chargers and all this stuff. There are so many situations now though where the speed of this makes that difference. I can pop open a case, clip a microphone on, talk to a camera, be ready to go, and my setup time is now seconds instead of like an hour. This system, 2 transmitters paired to 1 receiver and pulling them out of the case is what's gonna turn them on. The transmitters auto-connect to the receiver, and then if you have this feature turned on, the transmitters will also start auto-recording to local storage. All right, I've been talking a lot of mess about content creators using their labs like right up to their face. And the thing is, I'm actually not that upset with smaller channels or individuals who are just getting their first, little clip-on microphone. The lavalier microphone is a wonderful exercise in proximity. You see, that little clip-on mic usually isn't directional. It's an omnidirectional capsule in most circumstances. There are a couple outliers, we don't need to get into that. And I love those microphones that still give us a sense of the environment. Like you can still kind of hear that the person is in a space, but you focus the mic based on proximity. Obviously, the thing that the microphone is clipped to is going to be louder than the rest of the surrounding environment, which is farther away. But even in some circumstances, that might not be enough, and so you move the mic up and closer to the chest of the subject or to the mouth of the subject. I think it's adorable that when you see those like first-time recordists holding the lavalier up to their face, they're actually getting to the right solution. They're just using the wrong tool. Quick tour around the transmitter hardware. We have the microphone on top with a 3.5mm input if you want to connect another microphone like a lavalier. Some fun little ideas that I haven't seen before. I really like the wind muff design, which instead of having like a fiddly little plastic clip, this is going to slot into the transmitter's 3.5mm port. It all snaps in place and it's a lot more secure. I always got to be careful with my tone, or at least like spell this stuff out directly, because I'm really not trying to antagonize people just getting started. Like I said, I think it's adorable when you see them learning these mechanics, these recording techniques. But I also would hope that folks go out there and also research other solutions. We have a century of audio recording expertise just at your fingertips all over the internet, and we don't want to lose sight of solutions that are a better fit for your needs. If you're holding a little lavalier microphone and you're kind of tying up one hand and you can't do anything with that hand, we've been making these kinds of solutions that are not prohibitively expensive that could probably do that job better. We got pogo pins on the bottom to charge in the case, but on the side, we also have a USB port to charge and transfer recordings when we're connected to a PC. Have nice little hardware buttons all around. Front face to power the transmitter on and off, and this can also act like a mute switch. Blue and red rings alert for our connection and charging. The ring turns green when we're using noise reduction, and there's a tiny little red light at the top of the front face that indicates on-device recording. Transmitter recording. This is one of the key features to pay attention to if you feel like these are microphones that you'll really need to rely on. Like, it's mission critical that you get this audio, you can't get a second chance, you can't do a retake or a do-over. But even though I'm sending this audio wirelessly to my phone, I really love that I've got a backup. I've got a safety that's stored right here. And the back has a clip with a magnetic strip, so you can just stick this to a shirt or coat and not worry about holding it up to your face like a little handheld microphone. The whole point is that we can go hands-free if we need to. Now, moving on to the receiver, I'm not gonna let that point go. There's a clip here too. This is not magnetic, but it does shape properly so that it can slot into a camera's shoe. And the rear of this has a system that we've seen on Boya and Saramonic mics where we can attach a USB or lightning arm that can support the weight of the receiver, and you can quickly move from a phone to a tablet or to a full computer and then orient the display where you need to see it. The system also has space in the case. You can detach them and store the lightning and USB arms, but if you regularly use the USB-C, there's a little bit of a slot here in the tray. You can just leave it attached when you're charging in the case. Well, the weather forecast said that we were gonna get some rain. It's just kind of piddling right now. It's not really, it's not even really a drizzle, which I was gonna try and show off that these are IPX5. The Saramonic Ultra rate these as being pretty decently water resistant, but I guess I'll save a practical demonstration of that for sometime later. If you're using the receiver with a camera and a 3.5mm TRS cable, there's a separate USB-C just to charge the receiver if you need power over longer sessions. The transmitters and the receiver can be used while charging. Left side has that 3.5mm port to connect to a camera, or it can be used with headphones to monitor recordings when you're out. And the right side has this, which is really cool too. I'm just gonna plug this in here. An included antenna that you can extend the range of the receiver. I'm just gonna leave this connected for the rest of the video. Man, it's a bit of a hike and I always get anxious when my phone is more than a football field away. But wireless microphones are also another one of those fantastic opportunities just to remind people about the difference between camera perspective audio and subject perspective audio. We've got incredible range, and especially thanks to that external antenna that can help boost when you have clear line of sight. You really wanna make use of that range. You can do more creative and interesting things with your videos, or you just have a little bit more of a safety net. Like, I can clip one of these microphones onto my 9-year-old daughter, and as she's running around, I don't have to worry about her audio kind of getting lost to the distance from the camera. I think there's a natural tendency where a lot of people start with trying to clip a nicer microphone to the camera they're shooting on, and they feel like that's going to give them better control. Or maybe we can find a more directional microphone, but it's still the camera's perspective. It's like the camera is someone's head and you can only hear what's around their ears. It's always a situation of picking the right audio tool for the right audio job, but I think it's one of those things that I wish people picked up on just a little bit sooner. There are so many applications and so many situations where subject perspective audio is probably gonna do you better. And now I gotta trudge myself all the way back up to that phone. I don't even know if it's still recording. The top has a power button that can also lock the screen, and then that front face has a touch screen for swiping controls and a little click dial to fine-tune features and settings on the receiver and the transmitters. You need a quick volume adjustment, you want to switch on the noise reduction, you want to toggle from stereo recording to using a safety track. All of it can happen right on the receiver. The person wearing the transmitter won't have to fiddle with switches, or the person recording can fix something remotely if the wearer accidentally disables something or mutes their microphone. Now, I said this was blurring the lines on prosumer and professional gear. We're seeing more options support quality settings like 32-bit float. Whether or not you need that in your project, I think the default setting of 24-bit 48K is often fine for my talking head or interview content, but the combination of a higher bitrate with the new extreme noise support might be useful. I really like showing we use different audio tools for different audio jobs, and I'm trying to not yell over all the sound around me of all of this traffic. So now we're going to click on the noise reduction and see we have this natural inclination to just start projecting over what we hear around us. And right now I'm talking at such a low volume that my voice is getting lost in the sound of traffic around me. So I think we've got enough of a test here just to show you what Saramonic's noise reduction is doing, and we can get on with me trudging along. I genuinely could not find situations I would be around that could get this to distort. These microphones can handle some really loud sounds. But as an old school sound guy, and I used to work a lot of location shoots, the hotness for me, the Ultra features built-in timecode support. Now, I used to live in timecode gear for those location shoots, and embarrassingly, I don't use that kit anymore for my YouTube videos. I've been getting by just fine with waveform syncing in DaVinci Resolve. It's made me a little bit lazy, but I can promise you that a lot of folks out there will appreciate the ability to plug this into their workflow and line up footage quickly. I've been using these microphones for a couple of weeks now on a variety of projects. You just haven't seen them bolted to my chest. And I'm happy that even while we're on pre-release firmware, we're seeing consistent performance. A mic like this is useless if it skips or drifts. More, the support we get from the app on Android has improved significantly over the last couple of years. When we're connecting, controlling, and updating these microphones, that used to be a lot clumsier on older Saramonic gear. It's a lot more competitive and useful now. Thankfully, there aren't any gaps on the receiver though. The only function you're not going to be able to perform directly from the receiver is updating the firmware. Everything else, it's just nice to have if you want a larger screen layout for some of these options. There we go. It's raining a little bit. I don't know that other places in the world would call this rain. This is like a light, refreshing autumn sprinkle, but I'm definitely getting water drops landing on me. So there you go, torture test of the IPX5 resistance, the rating on the Saramonic Ultra. Totally water resistant. Citation given, confirmed. It's such a small thing, but after using a couple other prosumer wireless mics, I love that the receiver will show the available recording time left on the transmitters. There are numerous times that I might not even hook up the receiver to my camera when I'm getting ready to shoot a video, but it is kind of a pain to check if I have room left on the transmitters. My criticisms are pretty minor here. I wish the magnets on the back of these transmitters were just a little bit bigger. These little square magnets can bunch up lighter, flowy fabrics easier when you're trying to clip them onto a shirt or a blouse. I have some older Saramonic mics that came with these larger circular magnet pads and they have a soft finish on one side. I like these magnets a lot better, but of course they're not gonna fit in the charge case. Ditto, all of the other accessories, you know, I love this antenna and the cables and the wind muffs, everything that's included. This is a well-stocked system, but you'll also need to keep a carry pouch with you in addition to the charge case. I wish the antenna could fit in the charge case, or at least that we didn't have to attach and detach the wind muffs every single time we charged these mics, because I think that might start to wear out the 3.5mm ports faster. But it's such a well-bundled kit, and it's friendly on the wallet. Saramonic sent this box alongside a pair of lavs, and that's how Saramonic is selling the Ultra. Just the receivers and transmitter, or also in a combo with a pair of lavs, and we're neck and neck with other prosumer options from Rode and DJI for features, but we're undercutting significantly on price. And if you don't need the lavs, the price gets even cheaper. Sprucing up your audio is one of the fastest ways to improve your videos. If it's for shorts and reels, or you're looking at longer form podcasts or interviews, or you just want to make nicer family videos from your events and get-togethers. I've been following this space for years, and the tech for prosumer wireless audio has improved dramatically, with prices getting more and more competitive. It's getting easier to get the right tools for the right audio jobs, so you don't have to look like a big-time influencer who should know better than to do this. Especially those folks who run a whole crew and have producers and cinematographers and editors, but they're also trying to look like they're just getting started too. Why don't we do those influencers one better and show folks how this stuff can make you sound better and keep your hands free? It really shouldn't be this difficult.
Yeah, in Southern California for you. That's hilarious. I got about 90 seconds of drizzle coming down, and now everything is done. The rain is over, and the ground is already dry as a bone. Living in the desert.
So I will, of course, leave some links down below where you can find more information on the Saramonic Ultra. I guarantee you're gonna be seeing these mics show up in more of my videos. Or maybe not, they're pretty discreet. I love digging into new audio hardware, especially things that make our home recording and content creation jobs just a little bit easier. And the folks who get to see the results of my testing first are my incredible patrons. All of the awesome folks on patreon.com/SomeGadgetGuy. A huge thank you from the bottom of my heart. This list of names that's scrolling by on your screen, these people are directly responsible for helping us to keep the lights on here in the Gadget Lab. They're basically the coolest nerds in the universe, so I hope you'll check them out. Now, you know where you can find me across the rest of the internet, at SomeGadgetGuy, basically everywhere, but these days I'm trying to spend a bit more time on the Mastodons, a lot less so on the Facebooks, Instagrams, Threads, definitely not on the Twitters, and I will catch you all on the next video.